Welcome to the DVD. This is the fun part where we get to strip down and rebuild both of these machines. We're going to start on the washer first, and then we're going to move on to the dryer. We're going to strip the washer all the way down. You're going to see exactly how it works. I'm going to show you the parts which fail repeatedly, and also you have your cheat sheets which you can follow as well. That will give you the exact diagnosis. Then we're going to put it back together again and then move on to the dryer. Some of the tools I'm going to be using, you probably have these at home, but if you don't, you can pick them up easily. I like to use a screw gun just because it makes everything nice and quick, but a regular screwdriver will work just as well. You're going to need a flat-bladed screwdriver, just like this one. Make sure it has a plastic handle and the metal bar doesn't go all the way through to the end because you need to be completely insulated when you're using it. I'm sure you've probably got one of these. And right here we have some nut drivers, 3 sizes, 1/4 inch, 5/16 and 3/8, and I like to use an extension bar as well. And also, last but not least, a decent pair of needle nose pliers. These are a high quality set, they're about $20 or so to buy, with very well insulated handles, and I'll show you a little bit later on why you need a decent set of these. The other stuff you can cheap out on, but these need to be good ones. So, we'll get started. Alright, so here's our washing machine. I'm going to go through a couple of things first with you on the controls, and I'm just going to tell you how they work. You have the water level control. 3 settings on this machine, high, medium and low. Obviously that gives you the level of the water inside the machine. You have the temperature control, which has several settings here. You've got a warm wash, cold rinse, hot wash, cold rinse. Customer sets it to where they want to go. You have the timer. This basically has 3 cycles on this timer. We've got the normal cycle, which is a timed cycle from 10 minutes down to 2 minutes, which also includes your rinse cycle. There's a pre-soak cycle, and all that does, it just stops agitating for periods of time. And then you have the permanent press, and again that does the same thing on this machine. It'll agitate, and then it will stop for a little bit, and then it will agitate, and that's all the permanent press is. So that's it for the control panel. So what we're going to do, we're going to open this thing up and see what makes it tick. There's 2 screws here, and on most of these machines you'll find the 2 screws located on the left and the right. On some of the later models, the end cap comes off and the 2 screws are hidden behind. And on some of the very new models, they have a clip underneath where you need to put a putty knife under, but you're probably not going to see many of those because they're very, very new. This is basically what you're going to be seeing. So here we go. We lift this up. Here's the water level control. All that happens here is as the water rises in the tank, as it's filling up, it pushes air, giving air pressure up this hose and throws a little switch inside. And this switch here turns off the water and sends the electricity back to the timer, telling the timer to advance and start the agitation cycle. Right here we have the temperature switch, that's just an electric switch. They hardly ever go bad, also these hardly ever go bad either. Timer, maybe 5% of the time, you might see a bad timer. On the timer, quick note, if the timer's bad, let's say you pull this knob out and there's nothing happening and it's plugged in and all that stuff, just give the knob kind of a shake, moving it kind of this way, and if you find that it suddenly makes a connection and it starts filling or agitating, you know you have a bad timer, you'd have to replace that timer. Most of these timers have the part number on there, but you can also get all the part numbers you need from the model number which is on the machine, and in the manual you have all the lookups and how to do that. Okay. And also you'll find part numbers which cross over from one part number to another, so if you have a spare timer from another machine and it isn't the exact part number, look it up on the internet and you can see if that number crosses over and if you can use that timer. And if you can, that's fine, just put that timer in. Okay, we're going to pop the cabinet off here. Right here you have your wiring harness for the lid switch. That just unplugs, and that little wiring harness goes through to the lid switch, which is the safety switch to make sure that the machine cannot spin when the lid is open. It's to make sure you don't put your arms in there and break your arms off when the thing's spinning. So also, if you have a machine that won't spin, that's probably where your problem's going to be 50% of the time, or when it's not spinning, probably 100% of the time. Okay, this machine has 2 clips on it. You put a screwdriver in and pop the clip out. It comes out just like that. Do the same on the other side. And out it comes, and now we're just going to take the cabinet off. Very simple. You just pull the whole thing forward. And right here, this is where you put your bleach in, and all that happens, it just has a hole in the bottom that just drips into the tank. Alright, so here's our machine. Let's identify some of the parts here. This is the tank. On this machine it's plastic, and the ones that you're going to be working on, they're all plastic. This holds the water. Inside you have the basket that has all the holes, and that is inside of the tank. Also up here we have the fill valves, the hot and the cold, and they're identified by a red and a white. The hoses connect to the opposite side, which go to your faucets.